Okay, so we are recording, and I'm going to mute people while we start, just so there's no interference.
Sounds good.
So welcome everybody. My name is Winston Parsons. I'm Community Engagement Specialist at the Richmond Senior Center. We're facilitating one of our series in Meet the Candidate today. We're joined by Connie Chan, one of the candidates for Richmond District Supervisor. And Connie is going to be sharing about herself and answering some questions and discussion in both English and Chinese today. And so I'll let you take it away, Connie, and tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Winston. It's great to be here, even virtually, and it's too bad we can't do this in person, but I'm glad that we're here doing this, and while everybody can stay safe and healthy. My name is Connie Chan. I'm running for District 1 Supervisor. I'm a first-generation immigrant. My mom still lives in the same rent control apartment that I grew up in Chinatown. She still lives there right now. And I came here when I was 13 years old, and I'm now 42. I was able to afford our own home in the Richmond with our family support. And when I say we, I mean, you know, me and my partner, who's a firefighter in the city. And we're now living in Richmond, raising our 7-year-old son. He's a second grader at Lafayette Elementary. We just love San Francisco because it has always been this great progressive city that really raised me and raised me well. It's also the reason why for the last 15 years, I have worked in city government at the board supervisor, district attorney's office, recreation and park department, and city college of San Francisco. I love my work in public service, and it's the reason why I'm running. I want to bring my work experience, my skill set, and my love for San Francisco to the table to help problem solve, because what I see right now is that, you know, even before the pandemic, we were already experiencing a significant income divide in our city, but even more so than ever during this pandemic. We see that, you know, it's really hurting our tenants, even homeowners on fixed income, our working families, immigrants and communities of color. And then especially during this time too, I want to speak a little bit about the impact it has on our seniors. Seniors that actually have to be isolated, not by choice, and in our community, even and in distance to see their grandchildren or loved ones and their friends, most importantly. And also even trying to get help from and connection with the community centers like, you know, Golden Gate Senior Centers, in our Richmond District Center, neighborhood center, really are providing that network and help, but it's nothing that we have ever experienced, and in the challenges that we face together as a community. That's why, as I'm continuing on with this campaign, it's on my mind. Want to make sure that even when we win this election, we need to make sure that all these people that I have talked about are really be protected, housed, and keep safe and healthy in our city. So, 大家好，我係陳思敏。我而家係第一區市參事嘅候選人。我13歲從香港我喺香港出世嘅，13歲咧就移民嚟到三藩市。咁我媽媽仍然住返喺華埠嘅公寓，係受到租務條係限制嘅，所以我哋先至可以能夠繼續喺三藩市度有生活。咁現時因為得到我哋屋企人嘅資助啦，咁我嘅伴侶佢係三藩市消防員，咁我哋能夠喺自己喺利治文區有自己一間屋，撫養就我哋有個仔係7歲，咁而家係第2年班喺立法一學校嘅。咁過去15年裏邊咧，我一直都係喺市政府度服務，從事參事助理啦，同埋地檢署幫助受害者。提供援助，仲有就係公園康樂部去資助我哋嘅公園，譬如講係花園角同埋黃顯湖公園，仲有就係我哋嘅市立大學嘅，提供一啲高等教育，免費嘅高等教育俾我哋嘅三藩市居民。但係喺呢個居家避疫嘅過程裏邊咧，我都睇到我哋嘅租客啦，甚至乎係業主或者係一啲我哋嘅移民同埋我哋嘅有色種族。社區團體都受到好大嘅影響，亦都因為點解我而家參事，希望能夠為大家繼續嘅有呢個權益嘅保障。多謝晒。
Thanks, Connie. We had a few potential questions to tee up the discussion for. A number of our respondents identified housing and homelessness as key issues for them, some of their top issues, and would like to hear maybe about what those issues, what you see as related to those issues, and what you might see as solutions, and what you would do if elected supervisor.
Yeah, I think that right now, when it comes to the issue of housing, I think what has been challenging is really especially for our tenants and even homeowners on fixed income. How can we make sure that they stay housed? It's the reason why I support our eviction moratorium and continue to push forward. It's also the reason why I support to make sure that we have continue on a city dedicated funding to fund free legal counsel for our tenants, so that as we move forward and recover from this pandemic, that they can actually have legal assistance to deal with landlord issues. It's at the same time, we need to continue to make sure that those already in our community tenants can stay housed with stabilized rent. We do have dedicated funding to make sure that the city can acquire small sites, small apartment buildings to stabilize rents for the existing tenants. Now, for the small property landlord, they're also experiencing challenges. And my suggestion is that we can really think about supporting Prop I that's coming this November. It's a transfer tax for $10 million and more property. And that really provide relief funds for tenants. And with that fund, when the tenants are paying rent, it really helps the small property owners too. So it's create a support system that is a good cycle, that I would say. And that at the same time, when we do build affordable housing, and that's something we really need to talk about, is to build 100% affordable housing is definitely in the Richmond. And when I talk about building affordable housing, we're talking about anywhere between 0% all the way up to 120% area median income. And at 120% area median income, that is for $160,000 of a household of 4. I would say that's solid middle income. And we need to continue to push forward for that. That's low income and middle income. And at 25% of area median income is really for a senior on Social Security, which is about $18,000 annual income a year. And that's at 25%. And it's also the reason why I support the affordable senior housing development that is on Gary at 6th Avenue. That is going to be continue, and we should continue to support that. And when we come to homelessness, I think something I've been thinking about, and I really find that it's a learned approach as we tackle this pandemic, and seeing that our city and county of San Francisco has really handled the pandemic well in the early days. That's because we have taken a regional approach. We were in lockstep with neighboring counties about how we approach this public health crisis. And I think that we need to use the same approach with our homelessness. It is a public health crisis. So let's treat it so. We need partnership. We need regional funding and resources that we can help each other out to provide and leverage what we have together as a region to get state and federal fundings and support, so that we have coordinated local and regional services for these individuals to really get back on their feet. I'm going to do this in Chinese now. 咁我覺得咧，而家即係呢個問題係關於房屋啦，同埋我哋嘅無家可歸者嘅問題嘅。咁我覺得喺房屋裏邊嚟講咧，我哋應該係繼續咧保持現有嘅可負擔房屋。咁即係話咧，我哋要保障我哋現時租客嘅權益。譬如講我哋繼續要即係被免迫遷，保障我哋嘅租客，我哋要繼續。第一呢啲條例，第二咧，我哋應該亦都係繼續嘅咧，去資助免費租客律師嘅資源。咁所以咧，當我哋呢啲租客，當佢哋係要即係同業主有啲咩溝通啊，或者係要
租屋條例有啲咩問題嘅時候咧，我哋有免費嘅律師可以幫到佢哋。第三，亦都係我哋而家現時咧，市政府其實有基金係將有一啲比較所謂公寓單位咧，係低過大概10個至12個單位裏邊咧，用市政府嘅資金咧去買起佢哋。咁係買起咗之後咧，市政府係可以平衡呢個租金嘅，就唔會一直咁樣升上去。咁仲有當然就係嚟緊呢個11月咧，有呢個 I 提案。咁呢個 I 提案咧就係會幫助提供租客一個緊急嘅資金援助。當租客可以俾租嘅時候咧，佢哋亦都係可以幫助到呢啲小業主，因為租客俾租，咁啊俾翻俾小業主嘅時候咧，咁我哋就可以避免一個經濟嘅困難，俾呢啲小業主有呢個幫助。咁另外一個咧就係無家可歸者，我知道有好多人咧都好擔心，即係無家可歸者呢一個問題。咁其實我覺得從我學到嘅一個睇到呢個睇法就係，當我哋居家避疫嘅時候，就係唔單止三藩市，仲係我哋其他嘅市院嘅一齊合作，讓我哋能夠提供呢啲資源資助，能夠讓我哋居家避疫嘅安全。咁亦即係話，即係我哋亦都希望能夠同其他城市同埋縣市度合作，讓我哋能夠得到州政府同埋聯邦政府嘅資助，去幫助呢啲無家可歸者，提供佢哋一啲需要嘅服務。多謝晒。
Thanks, Connie. I'm not going to lie, it's impressive to see you switch back and forth like that between English and Cantonese. Before I move on to other questions, does anybody have questions or comments for Connie on what she's just talked about? And welcome, Shirlena. Are you there, Shirlena?
Hi, Shirlena.
Well, maybe she'll say hi later.
She's shy. It's all good. I know. It's Zoom.
Okay. There are a few other questions that we're asking of all the candidates. The first one, I'll ask you a few of those questions, and then I'll poke a few of our participants and ask them. Hi, Shirlena.
Hello, hello.
Good to see you. Okay, well, welcome. The first question I have to follow up with you, Connie, is what are some of your core, most important beliefs? And how would you work with other members in City Hall that you might disagree with on issues?
My core belief is in city government that we really should talk about honestly where we stand on issue. And when it comes to policy making, I do not like the saying of devils is in the detail, because I do like to change that saying to say solutions, it's in details. It's hard work, it's about conversations, it's a continued vetting to make better policies. And it's okay that we have different opinions. And I think that is what makes better policies, and that to allow a space, a respectful space, to allow people to talk about different perspectives and bring them together. And that's also what I see a policy maker's role, especially as a member of the board of supervisors, that we are facilitating that conversation for community input, making sure that, people that host two jobs, seniors, people with disabilities, even youth, making sure that people have challenges that sometimes to be able to come to City Hall for hearings or attend community meetings, that we have ways to make sure that we create a space for them to voice their opinions, and that we listen. We don't just do it as a motion, but we listen. And even though it's hard, because we're diverse and we're opinionated, but nonetheless, we have to bring them together, and we need to find a common ground to problem solve and create that solution. And with that attitude, I think that is how I would approach not just our communities, but people that I may disagree with within City Hall and outside of City Hall. And I think that for the long term, at the end of the day, makes better policies for our communities. And I'm going to do that in Chinese now.
個問題就係即係我本身本人嘅睇法，同埋覺得我會同一啲意見不同嘅人，我點樣能夠同佢哋溝通，同埋揾到一啲解決嘅方法。咁我就係覺得其實就算我哋意見不同，唔代表我哋唔溝通。其實就係因為我哋嘅意見不同，更加嘅應該去了解、去聽各種唔同嘅意見。雖然我哋可能係有唔同嘅意見，但係亦都因為咁樣採取唔同嘅意見嘅時候咧，我哋先有更好嘅政策啊！因為有嗰陣時候，如果政策我哋忽略咗唔去聽其他嘅人嘅意見嘅時候咧，咁我哋可能嘅政策其實冇咁完美。咁所以我亦都係因為咁樣咧，我係好願意去聆聽唔同嘅人聲音。但係當然同樣嘅，我就覺得，譬如講我哋有啲好多公職家庭，佢要返一份工兩份工嘅，佢根本就冇時間去到市政府聆聽會。又或者我哋嘅老人家啦，又或者係我哋嘅殘障人士，甚至乎我哋嘅年輕人。佢哋都可能因為要返學啦，或者其他嘅問題，而冇辦法去到市政府聆聽會嘅時候，咁就係我哋身為一個市參事嘅責任，去揾一啲地方，揾一啲辦法，去盡量嘅同每個人嘅溝通，讓我哋能夠採取到每個人唔同嘅意見。因為我亦都好相信喺唔同意見嘅之下，聽唔同嘅意見，先至能夠揾到最好嘅解決方法。咁最終嘅目的就係以咁樣先至係能夠有最完善、最完美嘅一個政策。可能唔係完全嘅完美，但係起碼係好接近嘅，讓能夠幫助到每個人唔同嘅需要。最主要就係希望我哋能夠有個更好嘅社區。
Oh. I'm going to actually pause my questions, and I'm going to see if any of our participants have any questions or concerns they want to raise. Shirlena, is there anything you want to ask Connie about, or any really important issues to you that you want to share?
For me, chef, usually the people, they have more support, financial support. Is very important for the political winner. They need a financial support, isn't it?
Sorry, say the last.
The people support your power, right? But also need a economic support by the business people, by the local people. Support, especially the district. See what district you are in. Different kind of people in different district. The diversity is very different. And in the first district, there are a lot of variety people too. Yeah. So Connie is kind of first one coming kind of new for the community for me. But she's very good.
Shirlena Chan, you are on Connie Chan's team. Okay. Maybe Connie, that actually might be a good segue. What are some of your endorsements from the private community and other leaders? Who are other people that support your campaign?
Thank you. I think I know what Shirlena is saying. You know, it's, you know, for people who are running for supervisor, who are backing us? Who are the people that support us in our campaign? And it is very true. You know, I'm honored to have the endorsement of nurses, teachers, essential workers, and that is really the people who are backing this campaign. And that tells you that what we're about. We are about the working people. We are about our community. And I'm really honored to have their endorsement. And I do agree that at times that we think about who are backing different candidates and different people, and with those backing, do they drive their agenda? Because frankly, I want to say, yes, you know, the people who back me, help me.
and drive my agenda because I know what we're about. We're about the working people and the immigrants and the communities of color and the essential workers on the front line to try to fight and keep our people housed and safe and healthy, especially during this pandemic. So I am firmly believe that about the people that back the campaign indicates what the campaign is about and what the candidate and their policies are about. Should I answer this in Chinese too? Go ahead.
Sure.
咁啊，阿 Shirlena， 我諗你嘅意思即係話，即係每一個競選嘅人，即係都係有唔同嘅人嘅支持佢哋嘅，支持佢哋嘅人就代表佢哋係乜嘢嘅競選候選人。咁我亦都好贊成，即係喺我嚟講，支持我嘅人咧就係護士啦、先生啦。即係老師啦，同埋我哋嘅一啲前線人員、工作人員、醫療人員。咁我亦都好贊成就係唔同嘅人支持唔同嘅競選團，就明顯嘅顯出每一個候選人同埋競選團佢哋代表嘅係乜嘢。咁我亦都係贊同咁樣嘅睇法，因為好明顯嘅支持我哋嘅人係公職家庭。係護士，係先生，係前線人員，係一啲真係保護我哋，同埋尤其是呢個居家被呢個疫情嘅影響之下，真係幫助我哋社區嘅人。咁所以我亦都好榮幸有佢哋嘅支持。因為我覺得係嘅，佢哋嘅支持亦都代表就話我係一個點樣嘅候選人，我哋嘅政策係基於一啲政策係保護我哋嘅社區嘅政策。
Thanks. I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to poke a few other participants to chime in. Disability and aging services. Can you talk about what your vision would be for disability and aging services from nonprofits like the Richmond Senior Center to the department itself, city services, funding, what policies you see, and how you would make, what would be your vision to make it possible and easier to age in the Richmond District?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm so glad to see Supervisor Sandra Lee Fewer has been the budget chair at the board of supervisors. She has been fighting to make sure that we fund services for our seniors and our monolingual seniors. Making sure that our nonprofits that provide these services with the expertise and the cultural and language competency can continue to provide the services. And I think that is what we need to do. It was very alarming. I don't know if we recall that, but it was very alarming, when the state was trying to go through their budget process, because currently I'm at the state assembly. And as I learned that there was going to be a budget cut for day care service for our senior centers. And it was a fight. Luckily, the budget is preserved, but just to think that conversation even had to exist, that our seniors in our community have to fight and to advocate for them, that we need legislature, we need policymakers that is going to be that voice when they're on the floor, while everyone is sheltered in place. We need that voice, and I'm committed to be that voice, and to, especially as we go through the budget deficit of $1.7 billion for the next 2 fiscal years. I think we need to fight to make sure that we have funding for healthcare, public health, and services, and continue to fund our partners and really our city services as well that will serve communities of color, immigrants, working families, and those are in need, like our seniors and people with disabilities. 咁我Winston 嘅問題就係話，即係喺呢個情形之下，譬如講我哋喺歷治民區，亦都睇到好多老人家或者殘障人士有呢個需要。咁我會點樣做去能夠幫助我哋呢個老人同埋殘障人士嘅社區咧？咁我就係覺得好在我哋而家有市參市李麗常，佢喺呢1-2年裏邊咧係我哋嘅市參市嘅預算 委員會嘅主席，咁我哋嘅預算主席，咁都因為佢能夠喺嗰度喺度幫助，能夠去繼續倡導我哋呢啲經濟預算，能夠提供呢啲資金去資助我哋嘅呢一啲老人中心啊，或者我哋嘅社區服務嘅。咁但係咧，我哋亦都知道咧，喺州政府喺前2個月嘅時候，州政府嘅預算咧，其實係想要減咗一啲我哋所謂老人中心嘅服務嘅。咁喺嗰陣時候咧，雖然最後尾係冇減到，但係亦都睇到咧，點解我哋一定要選一啲係真係會幫助我哋老人家同埋殘障人士社區嘅一啲領導者。因為喺咁樣嘅時候，佢哋就會能夠去繼續去幫我哋提倡同埋領導我哋呢啲資金，讓我哋能夠保障呢一啲社區嘅服務。
I have a few other prompts as well, but I'm going to see if Sharon, do you have any questions or comments for Connie or any particular issues that you are most concerned about? For whomever becomes the next supervisor of the Richmond?
Yeah, I've noticed that my taxes keep going up every year. Would you be able to do anything about it to kind of keep it at a low?
Yeah, I mean, I am too a homeowner. I with our family support that we're able to own our own home in outer Richmond. Let me just say that in San Francisco, that within city government, that it is that we work really hard to make sure we keep the property tax at a level that can be maintained. It's called our capital planning. So, for example, what you see a Prop A, which is a bond, that we have a bond planning. We will make sure that we retire the debt of the bond first before we issue and request a new bond. It's the reason why San Francisco is also a AAA bond rating. Now, sometimes when you do see a tax increase is when there's a regional tax, like for other share infrastructure. Now, that is not really up to San Francisco, but it's a regional approach to increase those taxes. For this coming November, I am in support of Part F, I, and L. And those 3 tax increase will impact specifically corporations that are generating much more than $2 million. So it's exempting small businesses generating less than $2 million, and also exempting food service and retail trade. It's a way to protect our small businesses and provide them tax credit relief, because they are the backbone of our economy. We've got to keep our small business going. And another one is the Prop I, which is a transfer tax for luxury property tax that is luxury properties that is more than $10 million. And usually that would be what you see commercial space or office space, or really truly a mega mansion. And those are the properties that you see, and I support that as well, because again, it doesn't impact our everyday, working families. Last but not least, the Prop I and Prop J. Actually, there's also Prop J. So Prop I is Prop L is the overpay CEO tax. When the CEO is making 100 times more than the workers within their companies, then they're going to be taxed. And Prop J is also a property tax, but it's not increased. It actually will not increase our property tax, but it's dedicating that tax money to pay our teachers' salary, which we need at this moment. We need to retain them because San Francisco has been very challenging for them to stay. I am against the measure RR. It's a sales tax increase. I am against the sales tax increase because I believe it's a regressive tax. It impacts our working families, like I talk about, in small businesses. Even though it's only 1/8 of a cent, I am against it, just the principle of policy to fund, to tax, of a sales tax itself, to fund our public transit on the backs of the working people and small business. I think we need to fund our public transit, however, but we need to find other source of funding to fund our public transit and not on a sales tax. And I'm happy to do it in Chinese as well, if that's okay.
Yeah. It's fine by me. Might let you translate, and then I might give Sharon another opportunity to follow up if you've got a follow up, Sharon.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Sharon 嘅問題就係話咧，佢覺得咧，我哋嘅稅啊，我哋嘅繳稅咧不斷嘅上升，咁點樣我哋可以幫助到佢讓佢唔好繼續嘅要咁俾咁多稅？咁我嘅意思就係我都係喺三藩市啦，我都有我自己一個屋，咁我亦都係俾好多地稅，所以我好明白佢嘅困境。咁喺呢個情形之下咧，亦都係點解我淨係支持嚟緊呢個11月嘅 F、I、L 同 J 提案啦。點解咧？呢4個提案咧，其實就唔會係正式加我哋嘅稅嘅。譬如講公債嚟講咧，三藩市咧就係會退咗啲公債，還上啲公債之後咧，先至就重新要求新嘅公債嘅。咁所以我知道係就唔會加我哋嘅地稅。咁 F 咧就係只要係要求大型企業增加佢哋嘅稅收嘅。如果你係小商業收入淨係低過2萬蚊200萬嘅話咧，咁就係唔會增加你嘅稅收。譬如講餐館啊，或者其他嘅嗰啲商業咧，就小商業咧就唔會增加稅收，甚至乎係有退稅嘅。咁減稅嘅應該係咁講。I 提案咧就係你要超過我諗係1000萬嘅地稅轉讓地稅啦，咁先至係增加嘅。咁仲有就係咁，我相信亦都唔會影響到即係大家嘅工資家庭啦，所謂。咁L 提案咧就係如果你係一個高管啦，企業高管啦嘅時候咧，你賺嘅錢係多過100倍，你嘅員工嘅100倍嘅話咧，咁你呢個高級管理咧就會要搞呢個稅啦。咁最後就係 J 提案，就係其實呢個地稅係一直係維持住嘅同一個地稅額，但係咧就要求即係可以將呢個地稅咧就專門係俾我哋嘅先生薪水嘅。咁現時咧因為三藩市實在太貴啦，我哋嘅先生咧係需要加薪，咁先至可以留翻到好嘅先生入嘅時候，先至會留得翻喺我哋嘅三藩市有一個好嘅教育制度啦。咁最後一個就係 RR 啦 ，RR 呢個提案咧就係銷售稅，就即係譬如講我哋買嘢嘅時候咧要俾稅㗎嘛，咁我就會覺得我就係反對嘅。我係反對呢一個銷售稅嘅增加，雖然唔係話加好多，但係我仍然係反對，因為我覺得喺呢個情形之下，我哋嘅小型企業又好，或者我哋公資家庭又好，我哋大家其實已經俾好多稅啦。所以我係反對去呢個增加呢個稅務，但係我係支持我哋嘅公共交通運作嘅。我覺得我哋嘅公共交通係要繼續，但係咧我哋應該以其他嘅方法去支持我哋嘅公共交通運作，而唔係增加銷售稅。
Thanks, Connie. I'm going to ask you another question, and then I might. I see Kana had a question, and I might poke Cheryl, see if she's got anything. But in the Richmond District, there are a few organizations or groups. The Richmond Community Coalition, or RCC, the Richmond Senior Roundtable. That regularly meet. There are other businesses and nonprofit providers that regularly meet. And we want to know, if you're elected supervisor, will you participate or dedicate staff to participate in the quarterly Richmond Community Coalition and the monthly Richmond Senior Roundtable? And then how else would you partner with local businesses and community providers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is kind of what I was talking about early on, about not everyone have the time to come to City Hall for hearings and meetings. And I think that it is a district supervisor's responsibility to attend our community meetings. I really think that there's also ways to make sure I think everybody communicate differently. There are folks that are really comfortable in a group setting. There are really folks that are comfortable more in a written form or even phone calls. You know, I think it all depends. And I think we need to meet people where they're at. And I think that most importantly is to do that, to know what are your preferred, be it as a group or be as individual and our constituents, what are your preferred way of communicating with your representative? And then let's make sure that we accommodate that needs. And so if it's a quarterly meeting or a monthly meeting, is it in person, over Zoom, early in the morning at a cafe, or, you know, cocktail hours at a bar, or, you know, a brown bag lunch, you know, however way it is, or even, you know, or just a phone conference, I am down. Like, I think that's a part of the job.
Thanks. And then Kana had a question here that she's put in the chat. Her question is, as a Chinese immigrant, what is the biggest challenge for running a campaign?
I think that at times that when it comes to issues on housing, transportations, land use, I do recognize that as a Chinese immigrant, first generation, born overseas, but I grew up here, that my experience is by comparison different. Then sometimes, well, I think we all are very different. There are also very diverse views, but they are cultural. I want to be honest. I think that at times there is a cultural differences when I express myself and with my point of view, and that I think that at times they don't come across as. I think at times that I have to work harder to be understood. So I think that those are the challenges as a Chinese immigrant. But I think maybe that's actually happens maybe for everybody, to try to be understood if you have a different point of view. So I don't know. I guess that's probably the biggest. That's a hard one.
It's a good question, Kana.
It is a really good question. I mean, you stumble me, Kana. That's amazing.
One more question. I asked the challenging, what's the benefit?
Oh, yes. Actually, see, I see that as more, I think more about, I try to think positive and think about the benefits instead of the challenges, because I always want to overcome my challenges. And I think that would be the fact that I can speak. I can speak the language, right? Even I think with this conversation, I'm so happy the fact that I can speak both and communicate both. And you can understand me, you know, both in English and Chinese. And so I think that is probably my advantage. I also think that's the reason why I'm really proud to be running. And to be proud to be running for the Richmond District, where 40% of the residents are really Chinese-speaking residents. So I'm really happy. And even the merchant walk has been great, because I feel like, you know, I can walk into different stores like right next to each other, and I can interchange, you know, my language. Like one shop, it's great, Potlight, I can speak in English, but then, you know, New Wame, and I can talk in Chinese, and I love that. I'm having a great time doing that on campaign trail. Should I try to say it in Chinese too? Kina 問我呢個，我反而難咗，我覺得呢個問題反而難咗少少。咁佢就問我，即係覺得我參選身為一個華人移民參選最大嘅困難係乜嘢？咁其實我就略略講一講咧，就係覺得有時候即係因為我係移民啦，咁未必即係講好多，譬如講房屋又好，講公共交通又好，好多陣時候即係覺得未必好多人能夠了解到我嘅，因為我喺香港出世，咁我喺台灣度1至6年班讀，咁我13歲先至嚟，咁又喺華埠度大， 咁所以有時候我覺得我嘅睇法同觀感對房屋又好或者交通計劃嘅觀點咧，可能同好多人都好唔同。咁當然其實34亦都好多唔同嘅人有唔同嘅觀點，所以未必係我最大嘅困處。但係Kina 又問我啊，李姑娘又問我，即係咁啊最好處係乜嘢咧？咁我覺得最好處就係我嘅雙語能力，即係我又可以講翻中文，又可以講英文。咁啊，譬如講見唔同嘅選民啊，喺街道，尤其是喺街道，或者去同唔同嘅小商業傾偈嘅時候，我可以呢個小商業就係識得講英文嘅，我可以同佢溝通到。但係行到另外新華美嘅時候，咁我行去買餸啊或者做嘢嘅時候，我亦可以講英文，講翻中文。咁所以我就覺得對我嚟講係一個好處嚟嘅。咁尤其是係歷治文區，亦都點解我好開心能夠去選歷治文區嘅候選人，因為歷治文區我哋有大概超過40個百分比咧係講中文嘅居民嚟嘅，咁能夠代表到我哋講中文嘅居民咧，我覺得好榮幸。
Connie, I'm wondering if Angela or Cheryl, do you have any questions, things you want to say to Connie?
No.
Okay.
Thank you. Good.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
Okay. What about you, Cheryl? I feel like you often have something, I'm not trying to put you too much on the spot, but you often think of stuff that I forget.
Sure. I can ask Connie, what area, issue, or population do you feel you need to learn more about?
In the Richmond, I definitely think that Cheryl, that's definitely a really good question. I want to learn more about definitely our Russian-speaking community and their needs. I think that I'm definitely learning a lot more on this campaign trail. I'm learning to speak saying thank you in Russian, which is spasiba. I always love to shop in their shops and try to learn, but I think I can do more. I can do better in learning more about their needs as a community, but definitely on Russian-speaking seniors too. That's why I'm grateful to have the Golden Gate Senior Center and the Richmond District Neighborhood Center, that they are already serving the Russian-speaking seniors. And I think that's great. And it's the reason why I think that we need to continue to fund our partners, community partners, so that we can make sure that for sure, to when I have blind spots, that they are aware, they are connected to the community. And I think another part of it is probably, I think I have a point of view that I want to say, because while I was born overseas, but I also grew up in San Francisco, and I want to learn more about the experience of our immigrants, even more, especially the new immigrants experience. I think that the new immigrants experience today in 2020 is very different than when I came, which is 1990, and want to make sure how we can help them so that they can take roots and stay here now and today. So those are probably my population that I would love to learn more.
Great. That is a good question. This is always why I prod Cheryl a little bit, because she asks good questions. Do you have any follow-ups, Cheryl?
No, I think those are great answers. I think it's important to recognize, what you have yet to learn, rather than, kind of coming from the, well, I know everything, and, I think it shows growth, that you're willing to grow and admit what you don't know. So I think that's important.
Thank you.
Another question that we're asking all of the candidates is, what's your vision for San Francisco's COVID-19 response in 2021? If you're elected, what are some things that you think you need to continue supporting, and what are we not doing that you think we should?
Testing. I really believe until we have a vaccination or a vaccine that it's safe to distribute, and distributing equitably among our communities, we need to make the demands a rapid, on-demand, free, or affordable, testing for our communities, and definitely in the Richmond. I think that we need to set up testing mobile site for seniors and people with disabilities, but definitely families with young children as well, so that they can see their families. I mean, my mom still lives in Chinatown, and I mean, I saw her, but with mask on and in a distance. And my son hasn't really been hanging out with his grandma for some time. It's because there are testing, but they're all the way in Embarcadero or far away from us. Well, not Embarcadero, but like I think Mission, and it's not easy. Definitely not for the West Side, not for us. So I would say to get through COVID-19, we need to make demands of on-demand, rapid, free, or affordable testing in the West Side, on the West Side, and definitely in the Richmond. And I would want to break it down to outer Richmond, inner, and central, so that it's easy access for people. Because I also know that there's there's some fear about taking public transit. And so that will be the second part of it too. So besides testing is, let's make sure that we increase and expand public transit services that allow people to have safe social distance on our public transit that they can use, and that they can still get to where they need to get to, like work or home, safely on public transit. And I think those are the two critical pieces that we need to do. Last but not least, I think we need to continue to push eviction moratorium for both residential tenants and commercial small business tenants, that they can stay, so that tenants can stay housed and small business can stay open. Right now, the eviction moratorium for tenants, residential tenants, will need to continue to be pushed for permanent, because right now it's March 2021. For commercial, eviction moratorium is November 30th of this year. So I definitely think that we need to continue to push those forward.
Got it. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that? I don't want to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just thinking, like, just quickly in Chinese.
Oh yeah.
即係講關於我哋即係喺呢個疫情當中，我哋應該最重要係做啲乜嘢？我覺得即係喺2021年嘅時候咧，我覺得喺列治文區咧，我哋一定要有個疫情嘅檢查。而家暫時即係疫情檢查嘅中心，但係咧，因為我覺得而家我哋冇呢個檢查嘅地方啊，尤其是喺我哋列治文區，其實有好多人都係老人家或者殘障人士咧，甚至乎係一啲家庭有好細嘅細蚊仔，都冇辦法能夠即時嘅去得到檢查。我覺得我哋需要喺2021年嘅時候，如果我哋暫時都仍然係冇預防針能夠提供俾大家嘅話咧，我哋應該有一個即時免費又或者係可以負擔得起嘅檢查中心喺列治文區提供俾大家，等我哋能夠可以同我哋嘅家人啊，又好似我屋企咁樣啦，我有個細蚊仔7歲，咁我媽媽仍然住喺華埠，我哋雖然有見過面，但係冇辦法能夠聚集一齊。如果我哋能夠有即時或者免費或者係可負擔嘅檢查嘅話咧，我相信我哋嘅可以聚集比較安全啲。咁另外一樣嘢就係我亦都覺得就係話我哋嘅公共交通咧，亦都係咁樣咧。我哋嘅公共交通咧要繼續譬如講增加我哋嘅公共交通嘅巴士班啦，因為變成咧咁大家可以上到個巴士，仍然有呢個保持個距離。咁你需要多啲巴士咧，先至可以保持到呢個距離。咁最後一點就係要繼續能夠防止逼遷啦，唔單止係租客，仲有就係我哋小商業，幫助佢哋能夠防止被逼遷嘅。咁譬如講我哋嘅租客咧，而家防止逼遷嘅保障咧就直至到3月2021年。咁我哋嘅小商業咧，亦都係有防止逼遷嘅保障嘅，但係咧係喺今年嘅11月30號咧就停止啦。咁我就覺得我哋繼續咧要延遲呢個被逼遷，繼續呢個防止逼遷嘅保障嘅。
Thanks, Connie. I have potentially one more question. We have just a few minutes left before we close, but I want to see if anyone else, Sharon, Angela, Shirlena, Kana, or Cheryl, do you have any other questions or comments for Connie?
我有一個問題想問 Connie。
係。
咁譬如咧，如果當你當選咗第一區嘅市三市嘅話咧，咁你喺個市三市會議，譬如市長咧或者有啲嘢咧好似啲資金咧分配到俾黑人嗰邊或者其他族裔，係疏忽咗喺我哋華人嘅社區嘅資源係冇嘅，得唔到公平嘅。你係點去幫我哋華人發聲，去幫助我哋都能夠即係話得到呢啲資源去幫助我哋呢啲弱勢嘅家庭咧？
Yeah. So the question is, when the mayor deciding the budget, which she has allocated funding for the Black community, but what about, also the Chinese American or the Asian American community? We still have the needs, and how would I be able to advocate funding, for our Chinese Americans and Asian American community? 我覺得咧 Angela 你講得好啱，但係首先我亦都係支持市長去幫助我哋嘅有色種族嘅團體，譬如講我哋嘅黑人團體，佢哋嘅需要。但係同樣嘅，我亦都好似 Angela 你咁樣話齋，我哋亦都有呢個需要，亦要繼續嘅能夠支持我哋嘅華人社區同埋我哋亞裔社區嘅需要，因為我哋一樣亦都係有色種族社區，亦都係弱勢社區，我哋係的確有呢個需要嘅，亦都係因為咁樣，我覺得喺我嘅情形嚟講咧，現時咧我有9個市參市支持背書，亦都睇到咧我喺市參市裏邊咧係雖然我哋或者唔會一直常常都係意見同志啦可能有時候我哋可能意見不同嘅時候，但係亦都睇到我係有呢一個合作性嘅關係。咁我哋喺經濟預算或者係我哋嘅政策嚟講咧，我哋喺市參市裏邊咧需要6票。要有喺11個人裏邊有6票，咁佢先至可以通過一個提案嘅。咁如果可以如果同市長係有唔同意見有分歧嘅時候咧，我哋需要有8票，即係市參市要有8票先至可以繼續去通過咧。就算市長唔贊成都好。咁所以喺呢個情形之下咧，可以睇得到我會繼續嘅同唔同嘅市參市合作。得到佢哋嘅支持，去幫助我哋華人社區同埋亞裔社區有呢個資助同埋資源嘅。
多謝 Connie。
Thank you.
So
I'm going to answer that question to you in English, and just to make sure, I just want to be clear, I am supportive of the mayor, dedicating funding to support our Black community. But at the same time, I don't think that they are mutually exclusive. We could also too support our Chinese American and Asian American community, because still we are all communities of color, and we oftentimes are and have been neglected and underserved. And so you can also see the way that I'm going to continue to advocate is that I will have the endorsement of the existing 9 members out of the 11 members of the board of supervisors. Obviously, we're not always going to be in agreement on everything. We may disagree on some policy issues, but you do see that I have existing working relationship and partnership with the members of the board of supervisors. And as we know, we need 6 votes to pass any policy solutions and proposal. And in the case when the mayor disagree, we will need 8 votes so that we can continue to advocate and push through that policy proposal or policy solution. So I really do believe that I am in a position to be able to continue to work with everyone on the board and advocate for 6, or if need be, 8 votes, to really make sure that we continue to advocate for our Asian and Chinese American community and for funding and policy solutions.
It's a great question. Thank you, Angela. And thank you, Connie.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Connie. Thank you.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm doing my best to try and just facilitate and be neutral. I will say I had a number of our clients, even before shelter in place, who had shared how they'd been personally affected by some of the anti-Chinese and Asian sentiment that we have evidences on the rise. So it certainly feels like something that's very real for a lot of our clients and community members, and is frustrating and bears recognizing and response.
Yeah.
We're just about out of time, but is there anything that you want to share as a final thought, Connie?
Well, I want to thank you for, taking the time to do this. And I know doing this on Zoom, it's really not easy. And I really look forward to seeing you in person, when it's safe and possible. And please stay engaged and please vote. Please don't forget to vote. 我好多謝你今日參與呢個談話啦，因為我覺得我知道，尤其是喺呢個居家避疫嘅情況之下，好唔簡單。雖然我哋好想即係能夠真人咁樣面對面傾偈，但係我哋而家要藉着呢度上網會談。咁所以我希望能夠有機會嘅時候咧，可以同你直接嘅有一個交談嘅機會，即係如果係安全性嘅時候。咁但係唔好唔記得，一定要投票，因為投票係好重要嘅。多謝晒。
Yeah， 好嘅，多謝 Connie， 多謝 Handsome。Thank you.
Did she call you handsome or did she call you Winston? She called you handsome.
Nickname is 靚仔。
Handsome.
Oh. Wow. Okay.
I didn't choose the nickname, I swear.
I'm sure. I'm actually very sure of that, Winston. That is so endearing. I see. That is so cute. That is so great. I'm jealous.
Dache-san, Angela. One of our former staff nicknamed me Anchun Sin-san, Mr. Safety. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, you did. Anchun Sin-san. That's very good. That's great.
I'll go with Nick. I will accept that nickname. I'm not gonna tell everybody that I'm Mr. Handsome.
It's okay. It's almost kind of go with your first name, like your real name. Winston, Handsome, all good.
Oh, okay. We'll go with that. All right. Well, I'll share this video out later. And we have a bunch of other folks we'll be interviewing soon. So I hope to see everybody else at some of our other meetings with other candidates. And yes, please vote.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Connie. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Say hi.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Sharon. Thanks. Oh, I saw your question, Sharon. We will be posting them on our YouTube channel and sending them out. We're actually going to have to reschedule the talk with Marjan because our account was screwy.
Oh, really? So I didn't miss it.
You didn't miss it. We're going to reschedule it. I was trying to set up interpretation and I screwed something up technically and we cut into Marjan's time. So I'm going to give her a full hour. So you'll still be able to participate.
Okay, Mr. Handsome.
Thanks, Sharon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.